We are now in Unit 2, the hardware asset management. The learning objectives are to describe the concept and purpose of hardware asset management or HAM, the HAM life cycle, managing mobile device assets in HAM, benefits of HAM, best practices, and tools related to HAM. Or it's not about the list of tools, but understanding about what kind of tools would be necessary. We already know that apart from HAM, we have SAM, CAM, and PINAM under IT asset management. And hardware is an essential area within the ITAM context because it's the core of the IT infrastructure. There is interdependence between all the ITAM areas, as we learned earlier. And HAM is a key component for software to function. So HAM and SAM cannot be isolated. They have to work together. It is not necessary to begin with HAM, though it would be ideal, because hardware is the basis for software. So identifying hardware assets could help in working on software assets afterwards. But in fact, the reality is that many organizations begin with SAM or software due to the most risks inherent there, such as licensing violation risks. What does HAM really achieve? It manages the hardware asset portfolio from acquisition to retirement. The objective of HAM is to get the most value from the hardware assets. It enables the organization in making business decisions based on meaningful and measurable financial objectives. An example could be for the business decision could be when to replace hardware or continue to use them or when to dispose them. A key focus of HAM is to align the organization's HAM strategy with the operational goals while providing adequate risk protection. Creating hardware standards and maintaining those standards, managing the physical components of computers, mobile devices, and networks from acquisition, implementation, process adjustments, deployment to disposal. The benefits of HAM. First is better IT management. It enables knowledge-based business decisions with respect to procurement, replacement, disposal, and reuse of an asset, such as it becomes clear when to procure, when to replace, etc. IT operation benefits. Agility, meaning short-term response times, supporting the business with better responsiveness, reusing of hardware, and usage of standard hardware services. An example could be how timely service actions are performed when hardware is well managed. If hardware is not well managed, the service actions could be delayed. Also, it's also about the standardization of hardware and reuse of hardware possible without any confusion. Contract and procurement management, such as requesting standard services, easier to negotiate for the standard hardware services. Financial management benefits are cost savings, such as reduction of over disposal and over procurement, and data for the compliance. This can mean financial controls for hardware accounting will be in place. And lastly, business benefits, such as minimizing risk of information security, software compliance, and the data loss. And this can occur because of standard hardware and practices like installation and disposal, etc. So having those practices and processes in place yields benefits for these various departments or stakeholders. The life cycle, which is the IT asset management life cycle, is the same here. We got plan or strategy, acquire, which means requesting, procuring, and receiving, then managing, then controlling, and then retiring. Under HAM, we generally have strategy, requesting and approval process, procurement management, overall lifecycle management, redeployment, and disposal management. The first phase, strategy or planning, this should align to corporate strategy, such as the corporate strategy could be service expansion for competitiveness. Therefore, the HAM strategy should also be aligned to that. Need to consider benefits and how they will be managed, how assets will be documented, how tools will support asset management. Number 2 is to request or acquire. And when doing this, it's good to negotiate the agreements to maximize value when requesting assets. Tagging or barcoding will be relevant when ordering so that scanning can occur as soon as asset is connected to the network. Also need to consider who can request for what purpose, because these requests will be part of the SLA, service level agreement for service requests. A service request could be to order certain hardware when such assets are part of the service catalog. And it's important to also understand whether these are part of the service catalog or not. Therefore, request or acquire will generally include the below phases, though some organizations may treat them as separate phases, such as procuring and receiving them. When procuring, it is important to consider the cost of buying and maintaining assets throughout the life cycle. And when receiving, need to consider whether asset gets properly documented and tested for use after it is received. Then we have the manage phase in the HAM life cycle. Manage has a lot to do with implementing a lot of ITAM processes such as tracking and documentation. You need to consider when and to whom was the asset deployed, was it standard distribution, which location, and so on. And implement processes, as I just mentioned, to ensure standardized, committed return on investment, such as unused IT assets in office and at home need to be tracked and registered. Update relevant documents based on ongoing changes, such as IT or the hardware asset logs are registered. Update or improve the hardware standards as appropriate. We will be understanding what a hardware standard is after some time. Also, it's about remote management of mobile assets and bring your own devices. Such practices ensure best profit of the assets by enabling redeployment, cost savings, information security, and cleaned hardware in terms of unlicensed or licensed software, etc. I'm just reading these slides because some of these we have covered with examples and clarity in the introductory unit. However, when we have some new concepts, I'll be giving some clear examples. The control phase is about implementing support infrastructure and processes to enhance productivity and satisfaction, meaning it focuses on improvements and obtaining approvals, ensuring that practices are followed as expected. For example, check whether hardware installed in a certain environment was approved for it, etc. Retire, the last phase, where need to consider whether asset need to be archived, disposed of, or returned to vendor under the lease contract, whether it be reused after refurbishing. Hardware can also be auctioned, donated, or given for employee purchase. In some cases, there'll be asset retirement forms or some templates